going on, everybody? Mike McFarland, Lake Fork Fishing Guide, giving you a public rundown right here. It's Tuesday. It's the middle of the first part of the week, anyways. It's the 18th. It's April 18th, and things are really starting to what's the word I want to use? Not change, but change, materialize into spring. We've talked many times about the Texas two-step: cool trends, warm trends, cool trends, warm trends. And we're still having that. They're a lot more mild, but it's still having effects on the fish. When I tell you about the lake here, if you realize that we're still hovering in the main lake at 67 to 70 degrees, the shad spawn keeps trying to happen. Like 2 mornings ago, the shad spawn was really going off. And then the last 2 days, it was 41 degrees yesterday morning. And then today, south wind, but a cool south wind, very weird to see south wind be cool, but hardly any signs of a real shad spawn. Still seeing the loons diving on gizzard shad, and mostly all that's main lake point oriented. But 0 to 1 clarity at 401.79, we're starting to drop. We really could use some rain right now, bring things back up, to really kick things back around. But we were 401.84 yesterday, 401.79 today. That's a half an inch. In a 24-hour period, that's quite a bit. They probably pulled some water, refilled some municipal things or whatever. Maybe even pulled for Dallas, I'm not sure. But here's the thing, as I started this saying things are starting to materialize, we're getting to a temperature where it's warm enough that even little cold fronts and things don't affect them quite as much. It has been very tough the last week, 10 days or so, because the majority of the fish have been on beds, and a lot of them you can't see. There's a lot of fish that are in, 1.5, 2 feet of water, maybe 3 foot, that you can see. But most of those are empty. They're empty nests. The majority of the fish are actually spawning in 4 or 5 or 6 feet of water where you can't see them. I experience this every year on Fort. There's not really a bite, so to speak. So when you go just fishing, you don't catch a lot. You see the consensus overall. So that the daily just kind of fishing patterns, and when you see like shad spawn starting and there's not schooling bass on it, it makes you wonder why. Well, they're caught up spawning. Again, back to what I started this with, that is finishing. Really seeing lots of fry everywhere. The post-spawn fishing is about to start. I have started to catch a few fish in deeper water, 8 to 12 feet of water, more towards post-spawn, pre-summer locations. Not by any means summer locations, but just starting to see them be off in the deeper, cooler water. With water temperatures of 67 and 70s, we're going to really see things like frog bite develop and the topwater bite. It should absolutely be on fire here very, very soon. Before I kind of go any further, though, I do want to tell you a few things. There'll still be another round of bedfish coming in. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and share with you what I've been doing on the spawning fish. So if you're out there and you are finding bedfish, you're looking for bedfish, there's basically, for me, I've rounded it off to 2 colors of creature baits. And I'm basically using a white rage craw, and I'm using an Alabama craw-colored speed craw, okay, which is kind of like a green pumpkin orange or a dark pumpkin on top and an orange on the belly. Sometimes I will dip the claws chartreuse on the rage craw, but then the final one I'm using is just a little paddle tail with the tail chartreuse. And basically between those 3 baits, I'm agitating the fish. A lot of times you can just put it in the nest and shake and work the fish that way, and let the fish get worked up by working the nest and shaking the bait a lot and waiting patiently. I've found that if I take something like this swim bait and I agitate the fish, don't chase the fish outside the nest, but really throw to the fish and reel it fast to the fish, and then when it pummels down on the fish, pull it away and just make the fish move, make the fish move, make the fish move. And it really, a quick analogy would be like a fly that keeps landing on you or your shoulder, and you keep brushing away, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back. And so I don't wait. and I'm moving, cast it, wind it by him, cast it, wind it by him, cast it, have it bombard on the head, cast it, have it bombard on the head, and immediately take it out until it's agitated. And sometimes it's 10, 15, 20 casts in just a few minutes. It's very expedited instead of waiting. I expedite irritating the fish. And then what I try and do is I try and have it where the bait's, I cast past the bed, the bait's swimming, and it just dive bombs right on the nose of the fish. And once it's agitated, a lot of times it just sucks it in and it's game on. So if you're doing the bedfish, I've found that so far this year, rather than waiting for them, a lot of times I really just put it in the nest and sit there and shake and shake and shake, and you wait, and you wait, and you shake and shake, and you wait, and the fish comes up and backs up and comes up, and it's a waiting game, it's a trick game. The agitation seems to be really cool. Another thing that somebody mentioned to me, actually, Jay Bonner, a good guide, Lake Fork guide, OHIV guide, friend of mine, mentioned the other day that seemed to really slip my mind. I used to do this somewhat out of this on the West Coast for really big fish. When you find a really big fish on a bed on the West Coast, instead of using tiny little creature bait or a drop shot, we'd actually go to a swim bait, literally a big swim bait, and drop a swim bait, a full-size 6 or 7 inch swim bait on that bigger fish. And you used to use a hollow belly swim bait, like a Shadalicious, Berkeley Shadalicious or something like that. And Jay mentioned yesterday that try dropping a glide bait on one. Of course, the cover and the junk and the stuff, the conditions we have, it's pretty hard to put a glide bait in some of these little pockets with the amount of cover that these fish have. But if you really got a big one, you might try tossing a glide bait on them. And I've also done this. Take a chatterbait and use it as a jig. Cast it past it and kind of hop it to it. But hop it in a manner that makes the blade brr, 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 have that noise and that agitation. And of course, brim colors are always, brim or carp colors are really, really good. The other thing I will share with you is if the bite's still not there, I really had a tough bite this morning again, but I'm throwing, moving baits, reaction baits, big swim baits still, glide baits still, things like that, top waters. I'm throwing them on the shad spawn, and any day I expect the bass to show up on that shad spawn. I really do. And soon, when the females are recovered from their part of the spawn, they're going to show up. The males pull off. The males will re-school up, and we'll have some really good fishing. And that's what I expect to happen. So we had a very, very big wave of fish spawn. We're going to have a very, very big wave be post spawn. And the fishing's about to get really, really, really good. But if you're coming to Fork right now, you're on vacation, or you happen to be here and you got dates and you fish during the day and you find it tough, go out at night. Okay, there are night lights. There are sets of night lights throughout this lake. Little Caney Creek, the mouth of Little Caney Creek, and some of the coves in there, the docks, the house docks, Little Mustang. There's another one. Be careful traveling the lake, of course, at night, but if you'll go spend a little bit of time and search for the green night lights, Dale Creek has some, Little Mustang has some. Even I think Williams might have a few. I know Little Mustang has some, and there's others throughout the lake. Up in Birch Creek, there's some. But the big females, both post and pre-spawn, the ones that haven't spawned yet, are feeding on those lights at night. It's a really, really cool thing to do. Experience is what I mean. Sorry, my allergies are really bad. But you can actually really sack them up. And so that would be my best recommendation. Spend your mornings just fishing. Spend the afternoons looking for bedfish when the sun's high and shining. If you're really struggling, you find that struggling, go fish some night lights, and you'll find success on Lake Fork. So that's kind of the gist of my rundown. I'm going to go hop in the boat here in a minute, and I'm going to actually do a members-only rundown and show my members exactly how my boat is set up right now, the rods and reels, the baits that I'm actually throwing, the approach that I'm throwing for several things, the shad spawn, the top water layout, and the up-and-coming post-spawn layout. What's really going to happen here in the next couple of weeks and as we move into May. And I'll be sharing with the members only some of the very best ways to approach it and have more success to your days, catch even more fish, and to stay on those bigger fish. It's one thing we're throwing in a lot of swim baits and glide baits for the pre-spawn females. Then we fish for them on beds. Now what do the pre-spawn females do? Where do they go? And how can we continue to catch those bigger fish, not just catch fish? And so if you really want to be a member, it's very simple. Look in the description below here. Hit the join button. Come on over. Be a member. I'd love to have you. But other than that, hit the like button. Comment below. Maybe hit the super thanks. Super thanks is kind of like giving me a tip if you really feel like this has helped you a lot or value to you besides being free to you, and you want to thank me, hit super thanks. And other than that, I'll see you on Thursday when I come back with another public Lake Fork rundown. Thanks for watching.